The Dunning-Kruger effect. When people are not very good at something, they think they are much better than they really are. This happens because they don't yet know enough to see their own mistakes. At the same time, people who are really good at something may think, "This is easy," and don't realize how good they actually are. Two scientists noticed this in 1999. They gave people tests, like puzzles or grammar, and then asked them how well they thought they did. Many people who didn't do well thought they did great. People who did great thought they didn't do that well. This can happen in lots of things, like schoolwork, driving, sports, or jobs. It doesn't mean someone is not smart. Everyone can be wrong about how good they are, especially when they are still learning. Knowing about this is helpful because if we understand that we might be wrong sometimes, we can practice more, listen to others, and get better. The Zeigarnik Effect. When you start something and don't finish it, your brain keeps thinking about it. It's literally saying, "Hey, we're not done yet." That unfinished thing makes your brain feel a little jumpy and curious. It stays in your mind until you finish it. When you finally finish, your brain relaxes and stops thinking about it so much. That's why stories that stop at a scary or exciting part make you want to know what happens next. Also, that's why a long to-do list can make your head feel tired. And that's why starting something is sometimes harder than finishing it. If you break big work into small pieces and start just one piece, your brain gets excited and wants to keep going. Like a puzzle. Confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is the tendency to seek out, interpret, and remember information that supports our existing beliefs, while ignoring or dismissing information that contradicts them. Once we form an opinion, our brain unconsciously filters reality to protect that belief. This bias affects political views, personal relationships, online debates, and even scientific research. It's not that people deliberately reject opposing views, it's that contradictory information often feels uncomfortable or threatening, so the brain avoids it. Recognizing confirmation bias is essential for critical thinking. Actively exposing yourself to opposing viewpoints is one of the ways to reduce its influence. The spotlight effect. The spotlight effect is the belief that others notice us far more than they actually do. People tend to overestimate how much attention others pay to their appearance, mistakes, or behavior. In reality, most people are too focused on themselves to closely observe others. This effect explains social anxiety, embarrassment, and self-consciousness. A small mistake that feels huge internally often goes unnoticed externally. Understanding the spotlight effect can reduce fear of judgment and encourage more confident behavior in social situations. The halo effect. The halo effect occurs when our impression of one positive trait influences our perception of someone's entire character. For example, if someone is attractive, well-spoken, or confident, we may assume they are also intelligent, kind, or trustworthy, even without evidence. This bias affects hiring decisions, leadership evaluations, and social interactions. The halo effect simplifies decision-making, but often leads to unfair judgments. It can cause people to overlook flaws or exaggerate strengths based on first impressions. Being aware of this effect helps promote more objective thinking and fair evaluation. The bystander effect. The bystander effect describes how individuals are less likely to help someone in need when others are present. As the number of witnesses increases, personal responsibility decreases. People assume someone else will act, leading to inaction by everyone. This effect is strongest in ambiguous situations, where it's unclear whether help is actually needed. Social cues from others, especially inaction, reinforce hesitation. Understanding the bystander effect can increase the likelihood of intervention by encouraging people to take personal responsibility rather than waiting for others. The Ikea Effect. The Ikea Effect is the tendency to value things more highly when we have put effort into creating them. People often prefer items they assembled themselves over identical pre-assembled versions. The effort invested increases emotional attachment and perceived value. This effect extends beyond furniture. It applies to creative work, cooking, writing, and problem-solving. Effort creates ownership, and ownership increases value. The Ikea effect explains why people defend their ideas so strongly and why involvement increases engagement and satisfaction. The Pygmalion Effect. The Pygmalion Effect occurs when higher expectations lead to improved performance. When someone believes another person is capable or talented, they often treat them in ways that encourage success, offering more attention, better feedback, and more opportunities. Over time, this behavior influences the person's performance. This effect has been observed in education, workplaces, and leadership. Expectations subtly shape behavior, which then shapes outcomes. The Pygmalion Effect highlights the power of belief, both how others see us and how we see ourselves. The Anchoring Effect. The anchoring effect is a cognitive bias where people rely heavily on the first piece of information they receive when making decisions. Once an anchor is set, subsequent judgments are made by adjusting away from it, even if the anchor is irrelevant or misleading. This effect is commonly used in pricing, negotiations, and marketing. A high initial number can make a lower number seem more reasonable, even if it's still expensive. Recognizing anchors helps improve decision-making by encouraging independent evaluation rather than automatic comparison.
The peak end rule. The peak end rule states that people judge experiences primarily based on the most intense moment and the ending, rather than the overall duration or average quality. This means a long experience with a strong positive ending can be remembered fondly, while a generally good experience with a negative ending may be remembered poorly. This effect applies to vacations, relationships, events, and even pain. Memory prioritizes emotional peaks and conclusions over total time. Understanding the peak end rule can help design better experiences by focusing on strong moments and meaningful endings.